Hey guys, Rob here with a quick little Revit tip for you. Have you ever been working in a residential project and you need a 120 240 volt single phase or split phase panel board and you can't find one out of the box from Revit? Well, in this video, I'll show you a quick way to set that up so you can continue moving in that project. Stay tuned. So I'm here in Revit 2023. And I'm going to start a new project for my Imperial Systems template. This is an out-of-the-box Revit template. So this is an MEP type of template that you may start out with until you have your own. But up here, let's go to a power plan, first floor power plan. And I'm going to drop one wall in so we have somewhere to mount our panel. Since we're using out-of-the-box panel boards in this situation, they are wall-hosted or face-hosted. If you go into electrical equipment, you'll see we have a lighting and appliance panel board, 208 volt main lug only, and a 480 volt main lug only. Now these happen to be recessed as well. If I go down, let's bring in a 225 amp panel and we have to attach it to that wall. So there it is. If I click on that panel, nowhere on the right do I have anywhere to change a voltage. Now I have the distribution system, which is set up to match the panel. The panel is set up for 208 3-phase. It's grayed out, I can't change it here, and I have no voltage or phase to change it here. Now what if I go into the type parameters? Same thing. Now, there's things called voltage and wattage here, but if you hover over it, it says voltage built-in parameter text. It's not an actual voltage value. Same with the wattage. And you can just type ABC in here. They're just text. This out-of-the-box family does not have parameters built in that will let me change its voltage. So one way to fix this problem is to edit this family. And it's a fairly simple edit, but if you go into the edit the family, we can change that voltage to 240, or we can set those parameters up so I can get to them here in this model. So I will show you that way first, and then I'll show you the even quicker way. You may be new to the family editor, but this is a very simple family edit. We're just modifying it. If we go to edit family, it will open up the family editor. And it's kind of a 3D view of the wall here, and then here's the panel, and then there's a bunch of green boxes that are conduit connectors. So we want to get to this electrical connector. It's that little circle. So if you can hover over the circle with the plus in it, now you can get here. The connector itself has all of these parameters, and I can only change them here in this family. Now what I can do is I can associate these, what I call nested electrical connector parameters. I can associate them with a family parameter so that I can get to them in my model. So what I mean is this: simply go over to the voltage, and at the far right, this little button says associate family parameter. Click on that, and then there's no drop down of a parameter here, so we need to create a parameter. Go down here to new parameter, and we're just going to make a new parameter called panel voltage. Now I'll leave it as a type parameter here because this family name has a voltage associated with it. So I'll leave it as a type parameter, and then let's put it under electrical and say okay. That puts it under the proper heading. So up here, it shows up here under electrical with the other electrical items. One more parameter that we want to associate. So click on the connector over here. Let's put the number of poles to a family parameter. So the same thing, let's create a new parameter. Let's go panel poles. Leave it as type. Put it under electrical heading. Okay, okay. Now we have two type parameters, panel poles and panel voltage, that we can actually get to, as you will see, in our family. So let's go ahead and load this into the project and close it. And you can save your changes to your hard drive if you want. I'm not going to at this time. I'm just going to change it in this model. Overwrite that existing. Now, when I click on this panel, now you will see if I go to my edit type. So now I can see I have these parameters I can change. Now, my panel is called 208, so I'm going to duplicate this I'm going to call this a 120 240 volt so that it has its own type. And here I will put in the 240 volt line to line, and I only want 2 pole. Say okay. There we go. Now we need to make sure that our model has that kind of distribution system. So go up to manage and MEP settings, electrical settings, and then drop down to the distribution systems. And this shows you the distribution systems that are set up in this model. So that means that we're set up in this MEP template that we started with. Luckily, we do have a 120 240 volt single 3-wire system, 240 line to line and 120 line to ground or line to neutral. So we are okay there. You may find that in some models you're working in, you don't have that set up. So that has to be set up. So we're good there. Now that this panel is set up for 240, now we need to tell it down here that we want it 120 240 volt single distribution system. Luckily, it found it on its own. So we're good there. Now we are ready to connect 120 volt and 240 volt equipment to this panel. Now, I mentioned I'd show you an even simpler way. There's another out-of-the-box panel family from Autodesk that we can use that does not require us to edit its family. So if you go up to Insert, Load Autodesk Family from the cloud right there, Any. So we go down to the Electrical, and within Electrical, there is an architectural set and an MEP set. We don't want the architectural set, we want the MEP set. So if we go MEP and drill down under electrical power, we go to distribution. Now we will see that we have lighting and appliance panel board. So if we hover over this name, you can see this is lighting and appliance panel board, 208 main circuit breaker, 208 main circuit breaker surface. So this is more of kind of what we already have. Keep going down until we find a single phase panel. This is single phase panel recessed, single phase panel surface. So we're going to stay with the recessed panel. So we found a single phase panel. Now this is as 120 volt, which is kind of strange. I've never seen a 120 volt panel, but let's go with that. This is the recessed version. So click on that and load it. So it put it into our model. Let's go to single phase and drag this 225 amp in. Now it looks the same as this other one. If you click on this one, you will find when you hit edit type that the voltage and poles is actually already associated or mapped. So they set this panel up for us so that we can change it. So instead of using 120, let's duplicate it and call this our 120 240 volt. And get the panel voltage at 240 volt like we did on the other and 2 poles. And that is simply a simple way to get this to work. Now this is ready for 120 and 240 volt single phase connections. Now, if you want to get very advanced and have just one panel family that you can change to any voltage, any phase, surface, recessed, whatever, I have a video in the link below that will show you how to do that in an advanced family editing type of situation. So until next time.